All right, good morning, everybody. It's time for our update. We usually do an update around 10:30 every morning, maybe a few minutes late this morning, trying to get the update going. But we are on here, and we're going to give you an update on what's going on as far as the tropics. There has been some changes on this 10 o'clock update, little ones, but there have been some changes across the forecast track. So we're going to be showing you those. If you haven't heard already, we do have a new tropical storm. Tropical storm Laura has formed. That used to be tropical depression number 13, but now it's changed over to Laura with winds at about 45 miles an hour. We've got three different things we're looking at in the tropical basin out there in the Atlantic. One is off the coast of Africa. That's showing a little bit less of a chance of development. They had 50% this morning, now 40% over the next 5 days. And of course, we're looking at Laura, and we're looking at 14. 14 is the one that looks like be affecting southeast Texas as we head towards Tuesday of next week, so something we're looking at very closely. Let's change over to the satellite and take a look into both of these systems. Neither one of them really look impressive as we check out the satellite. First, we'll take a look at Laura and Tropical Storm Laura, just now moving into some of the islands here on the Caribbean. Once again, not looking that healthy, not looking that impressive, but impressive enough for the Hurricane Center to say this was a tropical storm now. Switch over here towards parts of Central America, and we're looking at Tropical Depression 14, which once again doesn't look very organized. There's definitely some convection there, some rain, thunderstorms, but not too organized. You can actually see a little bit of a spin if you look real close right in here, a little bit of a spin with this as it's kind of interacting with Central America there. They are expected to move northwest and up towards the Yucatan as we head towards late today into tomorrow. All right, let's check out the tracks on both of these. First, we'll start off with Tropical Depression 14. This is a 10 a.m. update. Of course, this is the one that we're really going to be watching because this is the one that's probably going to be affecting us. Winds right now at 35 miles an hour, and it's moving to the northwest at about 14. So moving at a pretty good clip there, a little bit faster than it was this morning. All right, as we go into Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be moving across the Yucatan. By Sunday evening, it should be out into the Gulf of Mexico. They're expecting the winds to ramp up to 65 miles per hour. They are expecting it to become a hurricane as it does make it out into the central Gulf of Mexico. Winds at about 75 miles per hour. That's on Monday. But notice a bit of a change here in their forecast as we head towards Tuesday. They think that we might run into a little bit of wind shear as this thing comes closer to land. So they're weakening it down to 70-mile-an-hour winds, changing it back down to a tropical storm before it makes landfall as we get into, it looks like Tuesday, and then by Wednesday they have it inland and they have it winds down to about 45 miles per hour. So a little bit of good news there is that they show it as coming in as a tropical storm now, not necessarily a hurricane. Once again, intensity forecasts for these things are usually not the greatest. So just kind of take that for what it's worth. We could see all kinds of changes in the intensity before it actually makes landfall. It could be up to a Category 2 hurricane. It could just stay a tropical storm. Like I said, just stay tuned. Also, if you look, they have moved the track just a little bit. Earlier this morning, it was more around here, and now they've shifted it back to where it kind of was yesterday, over kind of, you could say, Galveston Bay up through the Houston area. So they shifted the track a little bit farther back towards the west, which is not the greatest thing for us because usually the east side of the storm, this side of the storm, is the side where it gets most of the wind, most of the rain, and gets the greatest storm surge. So we really don't want to be on that east side of the storm. We'd rather be over in here on the west side of the storm where you won't get storm surge because the winds are coming more out of the north. You won't get as much rain, and usually the winds aren't as strong as they are on the eastern side. So once again, look at this cone of uncertainty all the way from Baton Rouge down to Corpus Christi. So this can fluctuate as we go through the next several days. Like I said, it's not coming in until Tuesday. So by Tuesday, that could be all the way down to Corpus Christi. It could shift over into Louisiana. Just kind of a wait and see game right now. We're watching it and see what happens there. All right, let's go on and take a look at some of the computer models with Tropical Depression 14. And right now, most of them are pushing it right up into parts of southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana. And I think that's what we're basically going to be looking at for the next couple of days until maybe something changes there. But I think the Hurricane Center is just basically following along with what the consensus of the computer models are, and they're having it go right up into southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana. So they're kind of just following along with the general consensus of the computer models. All right, we have another tropical, well, we had a tropical depression. This was 13. Now it's Tropical Storm Laura. So now that this is named Laura, the one that's going to be heading towards us, 14, will be named Marco when it eventually becomes a tropical storm. So next 3 or 4 days, 4 or 5 days, you're going to be hearing about Tropical Storm Marco or Hurricane Marco, and that's the one coming for us. Laura is the one that's going to be working its way into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, possibly as a hurricane coming into maybe southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, or the Florida Panhandle, it looks like sometime on Wednesday, with winds at about 75 miles per hour. So Tropical Storm Laura will eventually become Hurricane Laura, they're thinking, as we get into next week. One of the interesting things is how is Laura and Marco going to interact together? Is one going to zap the energy from another? Is one going to push one farther this way or that way? Right now, it's too early to tell. Last time we had 2 storms like this in the Gulf was 1959. It's been a long time, so it's going to be interesting to see how they interact once they get into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, one thing I've been hearing a little bit on social media is they could combine and make a giant superstorm. That's not going to happen. That's just it's scientifically impossible for them to join up and make a giant superstorm. Now, if one was way weak, a weak storm, it might be sucked up into one. But these are going to be 2 comparable storms. They're not going to be joining into one giant superstorm. Also, I've been hearing talk about one storm rotating around another. That could happen if it was in the open Atlantic, but not in the Gulf of Mexico. It's just not big enough. You can't rotate a storm around another one. There's just not enough room. Also, you see that when you have a really large hurricane and then a very small hurricane rotating around it. When you've got 2 comparable storms like this, you're not going to see that rotation around each other, especially in the Gulf of Mexico. So I believe we're going to have 2 storms, 2 separate storms into the Gulf of Mexico. They'll stay separate, but how will one interact with the other as far as maybe pushing in one direction, maybe a little bit here or there, or taking some of the energy from one and trying to suck it to the other one? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, it looks like next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we could have 2 storms in the Gulf of Mexico. Once again, the computer models are basically taking about the same track we're seeing from the National Hurricane Center. A couple of little weird things we're seeing on this run, though, is a couple of them want to stray off out that way, and then even a couple of them want to kind of stray off towards that way. But the consensus definitely is what the Hurricane Center is going with, up towards parts of maybe the Florida Panhandle and into maybe Alabama as we go into looks like next week. So they're just kind of following along with the consensus right now. We got a lot of questions about what's going to be happening to forecast track. Right now on 14, the track takes it right over us, or just to our west. Will that change by the time we get into next week? Very well could change. So we got a big question mark there. How strong is it going to be? Is it going to be a tropical storm like they're predicting? Is it going to be a Category 1, Category 2 hurricane? Questions there. We don't know exactly. We're going to have to wait until it really kind of gets out into the Gulf of Mexico, and then we'll know a little bit more. And that's going to be sometime late in the weekend, early next week. Another thing is, how big or little is this storm going to be? Are we talking about tropical storm force winds extending out 20 miles from the center, or are they going to be extending out 100 miles from the center? That makes a big difference when you're right in the track of this storm like we are. If it moves, say, 50 miles west of Houston, but the tropical storm force winds only extend out 25 miles from the center, that means we're going to be out of the tropical storm force winds. We'll still get rain, but we're not going to get the winds. So it really just depends on how big the storm is. And right now, like I said, until it gets into the Gulf, we really don't know what that's going to do. So another question mark there, something we're going to have to continue to watch as we go through the next several days. So I think we have more questions than answers right now. We do see the track is coming up into southeast Texas. Once again, let's go over that real quickly. from the National Hurricane Center. Right now, still down towards Central America, but they are expected to track once again up into the Gulf of Mexico by Sunday. They are looking at it to become a hurricane, Hurricane Marco, sometime Monday. By Tuesday morning, they're expecting it to weaken a little bit as it comes towards southeast Texas and then come on shore as we go towards Tuesday. And then by Wednesday, it'll be well inland as winds drop down to about 45 miles per hour. Once again, I'll zoom in here and you can see the track is almost right over Galveston Bay. So that's shifted a little bit farther to the west and then when we saw earlier this morning. So a couple of different things in this update. One is the track has shifted a little bit farther off towards the west, and two is now they're thinking it's going to come in more as a strong tropical storm instead of a hurricane, which we know here in southeast Texas, it doesn't have to be a hurricane to cause lots of problems. Good news is also is this thing is not going to stop. It's going to continue to move up into North Texas after it moves through. It's not going to sit there and spin around and cause buckets and buckets and buckets of rain. If it stays on this track right now, this is just if it would come in just like this, we're looking at anywhere from maybe about 5 to 10 inches of rain. We're looking at winds that will knock out power. We're going to be without power for a little bit. We're also looking at some kind of a storm surge, maybe 3 to 6 feet as far as maybe some storm surge along the coast. It could definitely cause some coastal flooding if this track would hold true and it comes in just like it is right now. Once again, this can completely change as we head towards the same time next week, Tuesday next week. So continue to update you, let you know what's going on. This is the latest on our two different systems, Tropical Depression 14 and also Tropical Depression, or I keep calling it Tropical Depression, I'm so used to it, Tropical Storm now, Laura. Once this gets a name, Tropical Depression 14, it'll be Marco. And that looks like it might be happening as we head into maybe later on, maybe probably closer to tomorrow than tonight. It's just now still interacting with Central America. So maybe late tonight, but on Saturday they're expecting it to become Tropical Storm Marco and then once again become Hurricane Marco somewhere out in the Gulf on Monday and then weakening again before it makes landfall. Let's hope that happens, but we'll have to wait and see. As you can see, they have it getting pretty close to southeast Texas still as a hurricane as we go into Tuesday. So there's the latest update. This is our 10 o'clock update. We'll give you another update as we get into next week. I'll be working tomorrow, so we might try to do another update tomorrow evening on what's going on with the storm. And then Patrick will be here, of course, tonight. Patrick will be here on Sunday, keeping you updated on this. Once again, won't be really under the gun, I think, until we get into Tuesday of next week. And then get into Wednesday. So Tuesday and Wednesday look like they're going to be wet days in our 7-day forecast. Matter of fact, let me pull that up real quick while I have you, all you folks up here. The weekend's going to be dry, so once again, that's good news. We've been dry, and we're going to be fairly dry through the weekend. So the rain coming in can soak up a little bit before it starts to run off, and we could see some localized flooding if we get a ton of rain with this. But so we got a little room to add a little water before this comes in, and you should notice right there, Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. That's when we have the high rain chances, and we could pick up. Like I said, if it comes in as a tropical storm on the track that it is, maybe 5 to 10 inches of rain in some spots. So we'll have to wait and see. But over the weekend, looks pretty dry. So that's some good news there before we get wet going into next week. All right, that's our update for this morning. I appreciate you all for watching our live broadcast here. And I'll have more on what's going on at noon on KJAC. Appreciate you watching there. Also, if you haven't liked my Facebook page, Jeff Gerber at 12 News Now, go over and do that, please. I've been putting some updates on there. Some of them you might not see on 12newsnow.com. And we'll keep you informed. We're going to keep track of this thing, keep you updated. We usually get updates now every about 3 hours or so you'll be seeing those as well as not only mine, but of course Patrick will be updating as well. And we'll keep on top of this thing. Make sure you have your hurricane plan in place. Make sure you have your supplies in place. If this comes in as a tropical storm with winds at 70 miles an hour, definitely going to see some power outages. So have some flashlights, ready to go, have those batteries ready to go, be prepared, maybe not be able to cook some food, so have some food ready to go here or there, some sandwiches or something, I'm not sure, or maybe a cooler with some ice in it or something like that, if it stays on the current track. But that could be very questionable as we go through the next several days. Once again, thanks for joining me this morning. We will talk to you later.